How's it going, viewers and listeners? I'm your host, Kevin Leiter, and welcome to the Creative Mind Podcast. Before we jump in, I hope you guys are having a great Monday morning. Also, we have a very special guest, Jacob Cullen. He is the leader of Gen Next at the Connection Church. Jacob, how are you doing today?
Man, I am feeling good. I am so excited to be here on the very first podcast on your channel. It's amazing because I've seen the way you have shaped from a photographer to a videographer, and now you're wanting to pursue something bigger and something greater. To just see how you've been shaped into that, to get off the couch like you're talking about and pursue your passion. It is so cool, it's admirable, and it is inspiring.
Well, thank you, Jacob. Also, like you just mentioned, this is my very first podcast, and I'm really excited to have you as the first interviewee.
Well, thanks for having me.
Yeah, definitely. So before we jump into the questions, can you give us a little bit of a background of Gen Next and how long you've been doing it for?
Yeah. So Gen Next has been around for around 2 years. I started going to the church about 4 years ago on an Easter Sunday, and I got on staff a year later. So this upcoming August, I'll be on staff for about 3 years at the church, but I've been head of Gen Next for almost 2 years.
That's crazy. So what were some of the challenges you had or struggles you had growing into the ministry, growing that ministry?
Some of the struggles that I've had, I think it's like a bigger, grander thing that I had to look at first when I started it, because I had to look from how I was raised to the person I became now. And a lot of the struggles that I faced first starting the ministry was because I was younger.
Okay.
It's because I stopped going to church when I was in high school. So I had already this mindset of that I don't need church and people don't need church. So being able to overcome that was a challenge, because in my mind I was stuck in the couch. I was stuck and I didn't want to get up. I didn't want to keep going. But I kept hearing the voice from God saying, no, there's something greater for you to do. And it terrified me, because I was studying nursing at the time at Texas State. And then I switched into healthcare administration. And then I heard God say, nope, that's not it.
Mm-hmm.
That's still not it. And I believe that everything happens on purpose for a purpose. And if I fully believed that, then I couldn't think of Texas State as pointless. I had to think of it as purposeful. So stepping into it, I was like, all right, I'm going to not be fearful. God, I'm going to be faithful, because that's what your word says. It says, trust me with all your heart. So I did that, and he blessed it entirely.
So it wasn't necessarily other people pushing you down. It was more of your mind couch, and it was harder for you to get up.
Yeah.
And actually start.
So I think that was the first one, was physically getting over myself, getting over that self hump of getting started and just saying, okay, let's go.
Yeah.
Let's do this. God, what do you want me to do? But when I did start it, I wasn't the best communicator ever, and I still am not. Obviously, I'm still growing, but I had a lot of people who were kind of older than me, who were wiser, who I thought I trusted, who were kind of combating everything and not pushing me, but it felt like they were tearing me down a little bit, because they were saying, oh, no, you're too old. You're too young to do this. You're not old enough.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have the wisdom. And I was like, but the Bible I read in the gospel doesn't say that, because it says that my life will be changed by Jesus. And every person who's come into contact with Jesus, their life is changed, and immediately they go and tell about Jesus. So that's what I hold true to my heart. I'm like, okay, I don't need all these degrees. I don't need everything right now to preach his name.
I like that. And also, before before the podcast, we were talking a little bit about how millennials and Generation X, we have to go through several jobs before we actually start pursuing the passion that we want.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of the older generation really focus on the 9-to-5 job. And so I think a lot of these past generations don't really understand that times are changing now, and we're starting to grow. We might have to go through 4 or 5 jobs before we find what we really want to stay into the rest of our life.
Right.
And that's a tough thing.
It is tough.
Yeah.
But you always have to think of that self-reflecting side of, like, if I'm going to be changing job after job, I think of it more of my life as a toolbox. And each job that I have, each experience that I have, I'm just putting more tools and more tools in my toolbox.
I like
because
that.
I don't know where God's going to put me next.
Yeah.
But I have all this. And God, I'm ready. I'm willing. Let's go.
Speaking of toolboxes, what are some tools and tips and tricks, I guess, for the viewers and listeners if they want to start a ministry? How do they get started?
Man, if you want to start a ministry, first you have to pray, and pray. Because you first have to build your relationship with God. God cares more about your relationship with Him first and foremost before He cares about what you can do through Him. And I think Jesus is a perfect example of this, because if you look at Jesus' life, He lived 33 years. But the first 30 years was all focused on His relationship with His Heavenly Father before He jumped in to those 3 years of ministry. But He understood that, and He still, in His 3 years of ministry, got time away to get back to what God was calling Him to. Okay. So that's why I say pray, and pray. But I think the second thing is a mentor. So when I first started into Gen Next, I had our student pastor, Pastor Bobby. He was there to really push me and to guide me and to give me all of these resources to invest into my life. After Bible studies, even Bule Letter Bible, he was able to show me kind of the tips in that on how to navigate the website and how the Old Testament and the New Testament relate to each other. And like the Bible just came alive, and I was like, wow, that is awesome. And if I can get the Bible to come alive to me, then I want the Bible to come alive to other people. But I think the third thing, and this was something I never had before until I got into ministry, was a brotherhood. People surrounding you and pushing you in the right direction, because you can't do life alone.
No.
You can't. And we always think that we can, and that's when our selfish desires come in. But it's not until people are behind you and pushing you in the right direction that you're like, okay, I understand. You tell me to keep going. Okay, let's keep going. Keep pushing me, because you understand my heart and you understand where we're trying to go.
I like that. So to recap for you guys, the first one is prayer. And then the second one was a good mentor, which I really like, and that doesn't just include ministry. That includes any kind of walks of life. If you have a pretty good mentor and they have some good knowledge on their belt to really help you, push you, and teach you of the ways of ministry, photography, whatever you want. And then also people who are your backup, like your followers. I'm not followers, but people who are going to help you out and push you towards your passion.
And I think the question to always ask when you're starting things up, even if whether it's a ministry, a new career, whatever it is that you're wanting to start, you have to ask the question is, am I not doing this because I can't, or am I not doing this because I won't?
Yes.
And that's when our mind comes into it, and that's when we're talking about, and that's why I love the channel already, because it's really talking about getting off of the stump, or even getting over that hump of stagnicity sometimes, where you feel like you're just becoming stagnant in what you're doing. But just keep going and get over it. Not because I don't have the resources. A lot of the times we don't want to go because we won't do it.
Yes, and I like that, because even if you're stuck and if you're lazy and you don't want to get moving, those people who are going to help back you up and stuff, they're going to get you off that couch for sure. And even if it takes multiple takes, they're going to make you retake it until it's good. So let's go ahead and jump into the last question here. What is your goals for 2019 for Gen Next?
Man, my goals for 2019 for Gen Next. So in this past year, in 2018, we became an official student organization at Texas State University. It was a big thing that we were trying to accomplish for a long time. And we finally got all the right resources, and God had His guiding hand in all of it. So we knew that God was telling us to go there. Now, what it looks like, I think, in 2019 for us is really focusing on the people there. And not necessarily focus so much on the product, because once we focus on God's people, the product will come. So we're going to start doing things that really celebrate all the students there, to show that we love them, to show that we care for them, to show something like Jesus' love that they've never seen before in a tangible way, where it's like, that's church? Well, I want to check that out. That's cool.
Nice. So for getting on campus, what are some steps that you're going to do while you're on campus?
So while we're on campus, we're going to go back to kind of square one in the basics of kind of how the early church was built in Acts. It was all about the fellowship of believers and the believers going out. And that's what we're going to do. We're going to go out almost every single week, and we're going to hand out cards. We're going to make relationships with people. We're going to show them that we care. Whether if I'm at a coffee shop and I'm able to buy somebody coffee, all those little tiny bits of effort, I know God's going to bless it. But going on a bigger scale too, of trying to reach the masses and of like having a big like movie night on campus where we rent out the huge abandoned amphitheater and we put a giant like 30-foot projector and we just show a movie for free with popcorn, soda, hot dogs, you name it.
That'd be really fun. I'll be there.
Heck yeah.
So now we're going to transition this a little bit, and we're going to go ahead and bring in the mystery box. And what that is a variety of questions from fun to serious, and Jacob's going to be the one picking from it, and we're both going to have to answer it. So let's go ahead and mix this up.
All right. I'll pull it and I'll answer it first.
All right.
Let's see. If you had to live in a different country, what would it be? If I had to live in a different country, what would it be? I'm going to go a little American on here, a little Texas pride.
Oh my goodness.
I don't think I'd move to another country because I like America way too much and our freedom here. But, I mean, if I would had to, somewhere where I can make a greater impact than what I am doing now.
Okay, I like that. I'm not gonna go Texas pride or America. I visited the UK, so London, England, and Ireland, and I really loved being over there. I feel like it was really close to the US, and so there's not much that you would have to change as your lifestyle. Maybe opposite roads and all that kind of stuff, but I thought it was really close to home, so not big of a big change.
That's good.
So we're going towards the end of the podcast here, but this is the time where I like to bring in the viewers. If you have any questions for Jacob or I, please feel free to leave a comment down below. Also, I'll be putting Jacob's email address in the comments, well, not in the comments, in the bio down below. And if you guys also love the podcast, I hope you guys can leave a like and a subscribe and put that bell on so you can get notifications when I do post some podcast. I hope you guys are having a great day, and I will see you next time. Peace.
Adios.